I think I accidentally chose hard mode for this project. This is my first time sewing from a pattern with no instructions, just a bunch of oddly shaped pieces of paper and some confidence. I started by cutting everything out and immediately realized I had basically no fabric left. So whatever happened next, there was no room for error. I was very nervous about the interfacing because the last time I used it, it stuck to my iron and literally burnt. Thankfully, this time it behaved. I finally got to my machine, and that's when the project started fighting back. I started by sewing the facings together, and every few minutes my thread would get stuck inside the machine. Eventually, I finished that and attached the shoulder and the side seams, except that it looked awful. I thought I was the problem, so I spent an entire day fighting with my seam ripper and sewing the same seam over and over again. I did the best I could and moved on to the straps. I pinned everything together, and when I started attaching the facing, my machine completely lost it. It started making the most terrifying noises. So the next day, I called Singer's helpline. They got me on a video call, and within a few minutes, we found the culprit, a bent needle. That was it. Apparently, you're supposed to replace them every 3 months, which would have been useful information about 3 months ago. The second I changed it, everything worked perfectly again. I finished attaching the facing, hemmed the bottom, and moved on to the sleeves. This was my first time sewing sleeves, and honestly, it was way easier than it looked. I did make them ridiculously long, but thankfully, that was an easy fix. One final hem later, it was done. And honestly, the struggle was so worth it. I wanted something effortless that I could just throw on, and this lime green is exactly the pop of color I was missing. Maybe the hardest part of sewing isn't learning new techniques, it's figuring out whether the problem is you or your machine.